Hello everybody and welcome to another English video lesson intended for 4th grade secondary school students. This is the first lesson of the series of lessons on heroes. My name is Anita and I will be your teacher today. U današnjoj lekciji ćemo slušati izvorni tekst, povezivati zadane riječi sa sinonimima te opisati rješenje problemskog zadatka. For this lesson, you'll need something to write with, a pen or a pencil, your notebook or a piece of paper to take notes, personal computer or laptop connected to the internet, or your smartphone. I suppose you're equipped with everything you need, so let's begin our today's lesson. So the lesson hasn't even started and I already have a question for you. Who would you consider a hero? Let me guess. Mother Teresa, for example, or Superman, Lionel Messi, or William Wallace. So, as you can see, heroes can be different people to different people. But what I have to admit is that I've noticed a certain, I would call it heroism inflation nowadays. And we've a kind of cheapened the idea of hero in the modern age. So times have changed and we've gone from no heroes to everyone is a hero. But one thing is certain, heroes are admired for their brave deeds and noble qualities. So whatever their fame and place in the history books, they surely deserve to be remembered for their undeniable qualities. Now, give it a think and try to identify those qualities. My question for you is, what makes a person a hero? So, is it morality we are talking about? What does it mean to be moral? So, it means doing the right thing, but under all circumstances, even if no one is watching you. So, it means that you would do nothing that demeans or dishonors you. Or is it bravery or courage? These two words are so similar in their meanings, you know. The Oxford Dictionary defines brave as ready to face and endure danger or pain, showing courage. So we could say that bravery or courage are a kind of intertwined. Maybe they could be described as two sides of the same coin. Is there anything else you have in mind? Perhaps self-sacrifice. It means giving up something you want or something you desire to help others. Or is it perhaps determination, the ability to continue trying to do something although it is very difficult? Or finally, being inspirational is the characteristic of people who have found ways of turning obstacles into opportunities. With all these qualities, our heroes have changed thousands of lives and inspired millions of people worldwide. And in today's lesson, we'll get a chance to hear and find out more about a true heroine and her amazing life, a person who should be an inspiration to us all. Let's find out more about Helen Keller. But before you listen to the text, I'd like you to have a look at these words. There are 8 words: illness, joy, bitterness, struggle, happiness, difficulty, attempt, and blind. Think about them for a moment. They're all related to Helen Keller's life story. So, based on these words, can you predict the content of the listening text? You can now copy the words into your notebooks and try to make notes of your predictions. Okay, it's time to see if you were right. listen to some background information on Helen Keller's life and the abridged chapter 4 from her book, The Story of My Life.
On her life, Helen Keller was 1.5 years old when she was afflicted by an unknown illness, possibly scarlet fever, which left her deaf, blind, and severely speech impaired. Despite her disability, she became the first blind and deaf person to graduate from college. Her efforts to improve treatment of the deaf and the blind were influential in removing the disabled from asylums. She wanted to inspire them and give them hope. In 1905, her first book, The Story of My Life, was published. She also wrote a book titled Teacher about her teacher's life. Keller wrote a total of 12 published books and several articles. She also learned French, German, and Latin. The Story of My Life, Chapter 4. The most important day I remember in all my life is the one on which my teacher, Anne Sullivan, came to me. I am filled with wonder when I consider the immeasurable contrasts between the two lives which it connects. It was the 3rd of March, 1887, 3 months before I was 7 years old. On the afternoon of that eventful day, I guessed vaguely from my mother's signs and from the hurrying to and fro in the house that something unusual was about to happen. I did not know what the future held of marvel or surprise for me. Anger and bitterness had preyed upon me continually for weeks, and a deep languor had succeeded this passionate struggle. Have you ever been at sea in a dense fog, when it seemed as if a tangible white darkness shut you in, and the great ship, tense and anxious, groped her way towards the shore? I was like that before my education began, only I was without a compass and had no way of knowing how near the harbor was. Light, give me light, was the wordless cry of my soul, and the light of love shone on me in that very hour. I felt approaching footsteps. I stretched out my hand, as I supposed, to my mother. I was caught up and held close in the arms of her who had come to reveal all things to me, and, more than all things else, to love me. One day Miss Sullivan gave me a doll. After I had played with it a little while, she slowly spelled into my hand the word D-O-L-L. I was at once interested in this finger play and tried to imitate it. When I finally succeeded in making the letters correctly, I was flushed with childish pleasure and pride. I did not know that I was spelling a word, or even that words existed. I was simply making my fingers go in monkey-like imitation. In the days that followed, I learned to spell in this uncomprehending way a great many words, among them pin, hat, cap, and a few verbs like sit, stand, and walk. While I was playing with my new doll, Miss Sullivan put my big rag doll into my lap also, spelled D-O-L-L, and tried to make me understand that D-O-L-L applied to both. Earlier in the day, we had had a tussle over the words M-U-G and W-A-T-E-R. I had difficulty in grasping the difference between these two words. In despair, she dropped the subject for the time, only to renew it at the first opportunity. I became impatient at her repeated attempts, and, seizing the new doll, I dashed it upon the floor. I was keenly delighted when I felt the fragments of the broken doll at my feet. Neither sorrow nor regret followed my passionate outburst. I felt my teacher sweep the fragments to one side of the hearth, and I had a sense of satisfaction that the cause of my discomfort was removed. Then Miss Sullivan took me to the well, where someone was drawing water. She placed my hand under it. She took my other hand and spelled the word into it. Suddenly, I felt an understanding. It was the moment the mystery of language was revealed to me. I knew then that water meant the wonderful cool something that was flowing over my hand. That living word awakened my soul, gave it light, hope, joy, set it free. I left the well house eager to learn. We returned to the house and I remembered the doll. I picked up the pieces and tried vainly to put them together. Then my eyes filled with tears, for I realized what I had done, and for the first time I felt repentance. I learned a great many new words that day. It would have been difficult to find a happier child than I was as I lay in my bed at the close of that eventful day and lived over the joys it had brought me, and for the first time longed for a new day to come.
So let's check the listening part now. There are 10 statements related to the text you have just listened to. Your task is to decide whether the following statements are true or false. And if the statement is true, you have to explain why. If the statement is false, you have to provide a counterexample. So the first statement, at 1.5 years, Helen was diagnosed with a hereditary illness. This statement is false. So a hereditary disease is passed on from one generation to another through defective genes. And Helen wasn't afflicted by a hereditary illness. She was afflicted by an unknown illness. The second statement, she worked in a hospital. This statement is false. She wanted to improve treatment of the deaf and the blind and remove the disabled from asylums or mental hospitals, but she never actually worked in a hospital. The third statement, Helen was born in June, is true. Her teacher came to stay with her in March, 3 months before she was 7, so her birthday was in June. The fourth statement, the approaching footsteps she felt were those of her mother. This statement is false. She says, I stretched out my hand as I supposed to my mother. So what she felt was her teacher's footsteps, not her mother's. The fifth statement, Helen's first lesson was with the monkey toy, is false. Her first lesson was with the doll. There are 5 more statements to go. The sixth statement, in the days that followed, she realized the meaning of the words hat and walk. This statement is false. In the days that followed, she learned to spell the words hat and walk, but in an uncomprehending way. The seventh statement, her teacher accidentally dropped the doll which broke into pieces, is false. The teacher dropped the subject for the time. She stopped trying to make Helen grasp the difference between mug and water. And if you want someone to drop the subject, you want them to stop talking about something, often because you're annoyed that they keep talking about it. And Helen deliberately dashed the doll upon the floor. The doll made Helen feel uncomfortable. This statement is true. She says she had a sense of satisfaction that the cause of her discomfort was removed. The ninth statement, water was the first word Helen understood, is true. It was, I wouldn't say the moment, I would say the moment the mystery of language was revealed to her. And the 10th statement, when she returned to the house, she was remorseful for her previous behavior, is true. She tried vainly to put the broken pieces together, and then her eyes filled with tears, and for the first time, she felt repentance. I hope the task wasn't too difficult for you. Helen's remarkable autobiography, The Story of My Life, was turned into film The Miracle Worker. The Miracle Worker is a brilliant film with Oscar-winning actresses Anne Bancroft and Patty Duke as Anne Sullivan and Helen Keller. Watch a short video scene from the film, and later you'll be asked to answer a question related to the video. You saw the famous scene in which Helen finally connects water with the spelled word and ascribes meaning to it. Think about the scene and the film's title. Answer the question. What's the name of the miracle worker? What about your answer? Is it Helen or Anne? The miracle worker is a tribute to her teacher, Anne Sullivan, who showed devotion and unrelenting persistence in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Helen demonstrated extraordinary abilities to meet the difficulties in life with courage and determination, so we could say Helen is a miracle and Anne is a miracle worker. Now it's time to do some vocabulary work. Please click on the link provided here. Your task is to match words on the left-hand side with their definitions or synonyms on the right-hand side. If you're doing the task online, hit the pause button now. There are 15 words. What you're supposed to do is to click on the word, drag it, and drop it next to its definition or synonym. Hit the pause button and good luck. Let's check your answers. So, languor means tiredness. Tussle, argument. Grope one's way, to move forward carefully. Severely, seriously, or badly. Draw water, to take water from a well. Grasp, to understand. Discomfort, unpleasantness. Dash, to hit. Uncomprehending, not understanding something. Impaired, damaged, or weakened. Outburst, tantrum. Marvel, wonder. Pray, to have a destructive effect. Tangible, palpable, or touchable. Afflict, to affect adversely, and vaguely, unclearly. Well done! I hope you are happy with your score. It's time to move on to our last task for today. Helen Keller dedicated her life to raising public awareness for the disabled. You might think you're just one drop in the ocean, but that's not true. You can make a difference too. Now, you must be wondering how. Let's see. I have a problem-solving task for you. Here is the situation. You're throwing a surprise party for your brother who's turning 18 tomorrow, and a lot of people have been invited. Suddenly you realize you've got to buy meat for the barbecue, and you ask your friend to give you a lift to the supermarket since you are still a minor. You arrive in front of the supermarket and all the parking spaces are taken. Then You see a free one, but it's a disabled parking space. Your friend wants to leave the car there because it'll only take 5 minutes. What are you going to do? I'm sure you made the right decision. And me? What would I do? I wouldn't suggest, I would insist on parking elsewhere because someone might really need that parking space. Always keep in mind, it's inappropriate to use the parking space if you don't have a blue badge. We're almost done for today. At the end of the lesson, please fill out this card. I'd like you to write down 3 things you learned today, 2 things you found interesting, and 1 question you still have. I really hope you enjoyed the lesson and you learned something new. Take care of yourselves, and until our next video lesson, goodbye.